In a corporate world where all employees have great leaders with no egos that create fun cultures where people can do their best work, the employees and companies thrive while doing great things for the customers, themselves, and each other.
Well, we know that rarely happens. I'm Jeff Palacio. I have been a leader for over 40 years for every t-shirt size company, from small 16 employees to extra large over 1 million. Please join me while I interview outstanding leaders that will share stories of great leadership and not so great. It will help you become a better leader while poking fun about all the crazy shit that happens in corporate America. Welcome to a special edition of the Corporate Couch. These episodes will be more of a love seat that focuses on one topic and will run 15 to 30 minutes. For each special edition episode, you will hear from one or more outstanding leaders sharing their expertise on the most important challenges in corporate America today. Welcome to another special edition of the Corporate Couch. Really excited about today's guests. I have the founder, owner, and chief energy officer of Palm and Light. She's also the founder and owner of The Leap, a talent acquisition firm that she started also. My guest is Noorah Nachbor. Noorah, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
You and I had one of the best first meetings that I've ever had in terms of networking and business relationships and now friendship. We met briefly at Scott Haven's networking event. Scott, a local Kansas City legend, probably soon to be nationwide legend if he's not already. But our first one-on-one was during the solar eclipse back in whenever that was.
2024.
2024. So yeah, almost 2 years ago. So there you go.
Yeah.
So Noorah, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and the work you do?
All right, very good. My name is Noorah, and I have recently stepped into, well, I'd say recently, it's been in the last year, stepped into a new field of energy healing and intuitive coaching. Prior to that, I spent close to 2 decades in corporate as a executive recruiter, and then moved over to the corporate side. I started, in the staffing industry initially, and worked my way over to corporate after about 9 years, and spent about 8 years in corporate. So got my background is mainly recruitment, talent acquisition, and human resources. I've always loved working with people. I got to the point, though, in 2024, shortly after, it was actually right before we met, I had made the decision that I was going to leave corporate and start something new and go out on my own. So I launched The Leap, my talent search and placement agency. And within the first 5 months, I made my first year annual salary, corporate salary. And so I proved to myself that I can be a business owner and entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah.
But I was grinding and hustling and networking so hard that I was depleted. And I'm such a relationship builder that I felt that I was just kind of going through the motions and wasn't able, giving myself enough time to be present. And so I took some time last year at the beginning of 2025. I went inward. I disconnected from LinkedIn. I think you remember I went MIA for a little while. Spent time with myself, just spent time in solitude. I mean, that's so something that we aren't naturally gravitate to, sitting by ourselves in our thoughts. And I knew I needed that time. So last year when I was out for a walk one day, I'm like, what am I doing? Like my staffing business was doing fine, but there was a few months that it slowed down, and there were some roles that were coming in that I didn't feel aligned with. And so I turned them down. So I got to think, I'm like, what am I going to do moving forward? So it came to me on this walk that I should just go get my Reiki attunement and training. So I did. I had been receiving energy work for about 5 years at that point. I did just to, go get my certification. I went and did my training in attunement and thought this is just going to be something for fun I do for family and friends. And I told a couple friends about it, and they're like, well, can you practice on me? Sure. So I was going to people's houses for about 2 weeks. My calendar was full, just bouncing around to different friends' houses and pushing energy and Reiki into them. And then it just continued to blossom, and my friends were telling their network, and it turned into a thing. So I came home one day and I told my husband, I'm like, I need half of our basement, which is his man cave. I'm like, I need that to turn into my Reiki studio. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, just trust me on this. I've been, running this. My passion is, the energy healing, energy medicine, and working with people on a more soul level. It's just deep inner work. And that's, I feel like, has always been my calling, but I didn't have the experience or the language or even the awareness of it until I started going through my own healing journey. It's been about 6 years ago now. So that's where I'm at.
We're going to talk obviously more about the business and Palm and Light, your Reiki services and intuitive coaching. But for the business owners, solopreneurs, business owners out there that pivot from corporate to their own business, I always like to ask, what was the biggest surprises for you? Like, oh my God, there's one thing getting a check every 2 weeks. Or whatever the cadence is, and getting bonus and benefits and health and all that. But like you went, holy shit, I didn't know this was going to happen when I have my own business. What was that moment for you?
Yeah, for me, I've always just been a really curious person, and I've always had the mentality of like, I can do anything I put my mind to. I just hadn't had that contrast, right? I've always worked in the traditional job, and like to your point, that getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. But I realized it wasn't serving me. I'm like, I keep going through this every 2 years. I'm bouncing around from one job to another. I'm not fulfilled. So I think when I made that decision to leave, I was just done. I knew that cadence and that frequency of going through the motions every 2 years and finding a new opportunity was not serving me. And so when I went on my own, it was still a bit of a shock, right? It's like, okay, I'm not getting a paycheck like every 2 weeks. It's not the traditional role. But I was so ready. I just knew in my gut, like, this is exactly what I need to be doing. I think the biggest thing for me, I will say, was time management, realizing that I make the rules. Like, I don't have to go to an executive, to the CEO or CFO to get approval on something. I'm like, I get to make the rules. So that was the biggest adjustment for me. And then managing my time. Like, I've always had time blocks when I call candidates, and I got to control my time, and when I got to
no meetings, you had no meetings with other people.
Yeah, I got to decide like who I wanted to go meet with, and it took a while to, wrap my arms around that.
Yeah, Noorah, describe how you work with clients. What's your approach?
As I mentioned earlier, I'm very relationship focused. So I take a human-centered approach. I meet people where they're at. I really like to build that trust on the front end, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer because, you have to get to know somebody before you're going to go all in and work together and partner together. So, I think sometimes if you look at, and this was my approach in staffing, I worked with a lot of incredible recruiters, and they were killing it right off the bat and closing deals. And it took me a little bit longer because I was so focused on the relationship. But after about 2 years of starting in the industry, my book of business blew up. This is when I first started back in 2008, and we were at the start of a recession. So it took me a little while to ramp up. But that's my approach. I take my time, and I want to spend my time getting to know the individual, and I want them to get to know me as well and see if it's in alignment. I can't do the transactional type of work, which it works for some people. It's great. It works for some people. It's just not how I'm wired.
So, Noorah, when clients come to you, what are the common things people are searching for or getting your help with?
Yeah, so when it comes to my Reiki bid practice, they're coming to me for stress management. They have any pain or physical ailments that have been lingering, anxiety, depression, just trying to find a little bit more inner peace, clarity if they have a big decision to make and they can't decide which direction to go. They come to see me for that. I see just such a wide range of both. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're feeling even stuck, or if you don't even know, you're like, I don't know what I'm feeling. I feel like I need a recharge of some sort.
I am a client, so I've been through 4 sessions with you. And I think for me, and I know a lot of our mutual friends have seen you. You can go on your Google, all 5-star reviews, and see various people that are fairly well known in the Kansas City area. But for me, I think it was, and again, I think it's working with all your practitioners. But, what I was really seeking from you is, some clarity around both my personal and professional journey. And, having seen all types of holistic practitioners, you have a gift in terms of, what you do and the follow-up. And I know both Robin and I, my wife, Robin, for those that don't know, you've helped us immensely, not only, with our career journeys, but, our relationships our relationships. So it's been fantastic. And and she was seeking very similar things, especially professionally. She's had 10 jobs since COVID began. So it's been an interesting professional journey for us, for sure. And with that, comes, some, not hardships, but, makes, the personal relationship harder because of, the constant change and the, non-smooth pathways professionally. So.
Yeah, well, I absolutely love working with you both. So thank you for trusting me with your time and your energy and just your journey. It's been awesome.
I explained my process and what I experienced, and we can go through that a little more. But what kinds of shifts or changes can people experience through the work you do in helping them?
Clarity. There's just so much clarity that comes to the surface as far as, decisions, daily decisions. A lot of my clients have mentioned that they're handling stress differently. The stress isn't going away. They're in the same environment. It's just landing in their body differently. When I'm in a session, people can typically experience tingling throughout the body. They may see colors, and those colors are tied to different energy centers in the body. And so we debrief, as you know, after every session. A lot of times I'm receiving intuitive messages that I share with them, and some folks are seeing and hearing the same things when they're in this deep meditative state. So it's cool because we're, almost telepathically speaking to one another. Everyone's experience is a little bit different. Some people feel, like I said, heat, tingling, and just those sensations in the body. Some folks fall into a very deep sleep. Every experience is just, it's very different. But I would say clarity is the biggest thing that majority of my clients have been experiencing. Clarity and just that inner calm and peace. One session you'll feel good, right? It was relaxing. As you know, it's the consistency, and it's usually after 4 to 6 sessions, and I recommend a month apart, is where the breakthrough really happens.
Yeah, and that was my experience. I think I saw you early December of 2025 for session 1, and then session 2, I had some work to do for about a month, and then we did 3 more sessions with a 4-week plan. Each week of that 4 weeks had a different affirmations, different things to focus on. Some was mental, meditative, some was physical, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm an Aquarius, and we had some big event that I'll let you talk about on February 17th. But what I had experienced through the exercise you had given me for that week was I had just a bolt of energy come through me early morning. But I'll let you, because I won't do a good job explaining what really happened, and I forget the triple witching hour event. But why don't you tell the listeners?
Yeah, February 17th was a big day. It was a new moon in Aquarius, solar eclipse in Aquarius, and the Lunar New Year, ushering in the year of the fire horse. And you being in Aquarius, I'm sure you were feeling the energy intensely that week. And I want to hear what happened that day, because you had a series of events that came to fruition on the 17th.
Yeah, I know I met with Fred Stipkovitz. Fred and I had beers, and he gave me a good idea for an episode with himself and some other ex-military veterans. So that came up. I did Justin Rickless, and I did a special edition like you and I are doing about his new book, Give a Damn. yeah, it was just a very energetic day. And yes, and like I said, I had never felt anything like that before in terms of that kind of bolt of energy while I was just meditating and maybe saying some affirmations that you had given me. That's the other thing I would say about my experience. I mean, I have done affirmations before, but what I really loved is about the consistency. You know, you said do them for 21 straight days. If you miss a day, you start over. I did not miss a day in any of the 4-week programs. But anyhow, but I think the consistency of doing it and changing the mindset, and again, I've been doing my work for years. I was doing woo woo stuff when it was called woo woo. Now it's more mainstream. But yeah, I mean it's just phenomenal. What are some common misperceptions that people have about what you do?
It's unconventional because we've been conditioned to believe that we need to rely on systems and on evidence-based science to prove. I mean, there's at the end of the day, we're working with energy, universal life force energy. I think more people are becoming aware and conscious that there's a much higher power at play here. But there's still a little resistance. I think that there's so much that goes with this. I mean, there's religion, there's politics, there's the conditioning, there's familial upbringing. I mean, my parents are still a little like, what is it you're doing? But they've also experienced the benefits, so they're slowly getting on board and realizing that there's something to this. At the end of the day, this is, we've been so disconnected from our intuition. And that's why, we've gotten this phrase of woo-woo, because we've been so reliant and dependent on people telling us what to do, systems, and we haven't been tapping into our own innate power. We've been so disconnected from that. And when you spend the time to be present with yourself and, be in full alignment with yourself, I mean, you just start receiving messages from the universe and from God, universe, source, whatever you want to call it. But there's something to it. But you have to get to the point that it's like, you start getting to the point that you start questioning what we've been told to believe. And is there a better way? Is there a way that, if you look back at our ancestors in the beginning of time, this work, energy work, was so, this is what they relied on to build all these amazing pyramids and these empires. And so I'm very much drawn to ancient wisdom. I always have been. And so I've just been I was curious as a child and curious growing up. And also I was conditioned to believe that that's all fairy tale and folklore. So I was always, on this line of, this is so fascinating and interesting to me, and there's something there. And it's like, no, I'm getting my head about it. That's how it was back in the day. That's not how it is now. Right. But I feel like the more that people are truly tapping into their own wisdom, there's so much like beauty that comes to them and goodness and prosperity that comes to the surface.
Yeah, it's like when you got the idea of when you're on a walk. So you get your best ideas when you're on a walk or shower or whatever, because you're relaxed, your mind's relaxed. So you're open to receive. I used to get made fun of at companies I worked at because I would like to go outside and walk. Yeah. I worked hard. I was probably in the office 10, 11 hours a day, most days, and I needed a break. And, I needed to think, release the stress. And, eventually when I was, leading teams, I would have walking meetings. It's a beautiful day. Why do we have to sit in the office? Let's walk, talk. Yeah. Enjoy the sunshine. It refreshes people and it makes them more relaxed, and it's we don't have to sit on a desk type thing.
Yeah, that's so true. We don't give our minds enough time to rest.
Right.
We're always producing and performing and hustling and going. And if you're sitting in silence, it's like, oh, you're not doing enough. You're being lazy. You're not productive enough. It's like our minds need rest.
Yes, just like you can't work out 16 hours a day. You can't do it. You can't think at your highest optimal level every waking moment. You need periods of high amount of thinking, and you need periods of rest from thinking.
That's right.
Yeah. Nor, what would you say someone is curious about, your work, but they're not quite sure it's for them? What would you tell those people?
Yeah, I would say, you don't have to fully believe in this work to benefit from it. And so I would just say, come in with an open mind. If you're at least curious, that's a start. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Shoot me an email. You can reach me on my website or through LinkedIn. I'd love to answer any questions. And I actually, if you're skeptical, I enjoy talking to the skeptics. My husband was a skeptic for like 5 years. He would not go see my energy healer. So when I became a certified practitioner, I'm like, you can't say no now. It's your time. Yeah. And he has, oh my gosh, his life is completely transformed. So yeah, I would say, you don't have to be fully believe in it or even know what it's about to also benefit from it. And why not try something new? Yeah,
absolutely. And your website is just palmandlight.com?
That's right, palmandlight.com. And you could find me on LinkedIn.
A-N-D?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And LinkedIn, it's Noorah Nachbor, spelled Nachbor. And Corporate Couch listeners, you're going to give a special discount, 10% off any service by mentioning that you heard about Noorah through the Corporate Couch. So there's a little benefit for our listeners out there.
Got it.
Yeah. Noorah, thanks so much. Can't wait for our next session or our next happy hour together. So
yeah, you bet. Thanks so much for having me, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to this special edition of the Corporate Couch. If you enjoyed the episode, I would love for you to take 2 minutes out of your day to rate us 5 stars and write a review. Please join me weekly where I interview great leaders that share their career journey and their leadership wisdom.